what we're doing is that we're leaving the next generations with less. الأجيال اللي جاية كلها هتلاقي حاجات كتير أقل. For example أقل حيوانات، أقل مساحات للزراعة وإنتاج الطعام، أقل تنوع بيولوجي وأنواع من النباتات والكائنات، وكمان مناخ بالظبط، مناخ سيء جدا ومتغير بشكل مش معقول. Climate change is something that we can all see very clearly. So it's years ago we realized that this is our situation. And when this realization came, we discovered that there is a real need for a revolutionary change. صحيح اكتشفنا متأخر بس يعني اكتشفنا. We need to change. And we need this change to be in people's behaviors and practices. This is a reality that we cannot deny. But change is difficult. أصعب حاجة في الدنيا التغيير. And when you are not only talking about changing in people's knowledge, أنا مش بس هعلم الناس معلومات، لا ده أنا I'm looking forward to changing people's attitudes and behaviors all through the world. So this is a very difficult thing to do. In 2015, 193 countries unanimously decided to respond to all the terrible challenges that we have brought about, with all the poverty that has come to this earth, the pollution, the inequalities, and the illness, the wars, the climate change, and everything else. So, people came together in 2015. The United Nations announced the Sustainable Development Goals. 17 goals which the world has decided to work towards. And the goal is that by 2030, this is going to be a better world. Goal number 4 of these 17 goals is quality education, where we are all working towards ensuring inclusive and equitable quality education and promoting lifelong learning opportunities for everybody. This means that all educational institutions from kindergarten to tertiary education have accepted a responsibility. إذا كنا عايزين نوصل للهدف النبيل ده يبقى كلنا مسؤولين، من أول التعليم في الحضانة لغاية التعليم الجامعي وما بعد ذلك. We have a big responsibility to provide equitable quality education, to promote lifelong learning opportunities for everyone, and to develop future generations of sustainability citizens. And that is a real big challenge. Because the aim is to prepare individuals and leaders of tomorrow who can plan for a better future, plan for sustainability, cope with all the challenges and the issues and the problems that change and that sustainability bring about, that are capable of finding solutions and capable of taking actions towards these solutions. Now, education for sustainable development came up like the key. We can play this role. Education can play this role. If we are capable of empowering people of all ages to become advocates for peace and holistic social change, we will change. It all starts here. But it's not that easy, because education for sustainable development is not only about the integration of content about sustainable development goals in different school programs. الحكاية مش بس هندخل شوية معلومات جوه المناهج ونتكلم عن إعادة التصنيع والريسايكلينج والريوزنج، موضوع أكبر من كده بكتير. It is a transformational process that involves addressing content. هنغير شوية في المناهج كتير, but learning outcomes as well need to be addressed, and the learning environments as well. We need to help our learners explore things in depth, understand themselves, and understand their relationship to other human beings and to the environment. there are key sustainability competencies that our learners must have. For example, we need the future generations to be capable of systems thinking. They need to be able to analyze complex problems and think about them. We need them to be able to do values thinking, to map, to specify, to apply, to reconcile, and to negotiate sustainability values. We need them to be able to do futures thinking, to think of future sustainability visions. What is the vision for tomorrow? How can we implement that? How can we intervene or not intervene in different scenarios? We need them to be able to do strategic thinking in order to develop sustainability transition strategies. And we need them to be able to collaborate. They need interpersonal competency because they're going to be working together throughout the world in problem solving. And to link all of that with problem solving competencies. So we're looking for pedagogies that support collaboration, self-directed learning, problem orientation, and an interdisciplinary approach. We need to work towards that in our schools and in our universities. The goal is to change ways of thinking and life orientation. And remember, this is a challenge. Schools and universities have to start thinking of themselves as experiential places of learning for sustainable development and role models for the learners. That's what we should be. For example, our vision, ethos, leadership, coordination should all work in this direction, sustainability. Our institutional practices should all work on that. We should walk the talk. So, for example, we should ask ourselves, do we recycle? Do we sort garbage, for example, in the university or in the school? Do we encourage students to plant trees? Do we teach them about sustainability? Do we take care of the environment as an institution? We should work on capacity building and professional development of all our staffs. We should also work on community connections, going out of the campuses, talking to the people in the streets, in the communities, the local communities first and then the bigger communities. Also, we need to look at the curricula, design, research, working on the content, working on the assessment methods that lead the students to master all the competencies that we want them to master. And we need to look at the pedagogy of learning. We need new alternative learning processes and environments. Everything must change. It's vital to prepare teachers first if we want this to happen. So, for the implementation of sustainability education, we need to start with the teacher. So that's your role. There is a real need for a complete restructuring, and I quote here Whitby, of the existing pre-service model, which in many cases is heavily grounded in theoretical and discipline-based content rather than practical, hands-on application and skills. بندرس theories كتير. بس الحكاية محتاجة theories of course, but where's the application? Discipline-based content. So what are the areas of knowledge that we need to focus on when preparing teachers? There are three main areas that come up here. The knowledge of the learners, the understanding of the subject matter, and the skills for teaching. And they are all interlinked, very tightly interlinked. For example, when it comes to knowledge of learners, we need to prepare teachers to understand how learners develop. How do they learn? How do different people learn? and what are the different needs of their learners and what are their interests. Because that's how they're going to find the best ways to teach them. Teachers should know their subject matter, but they should go a little bit deeper towards the goals, the concepts, and how they are related to sustainable development. And they need to know how to construct powerful, purposeful curricula that really have a meaning and that really have an outcome. They must know how to use different methods and techniques in their classrooms, not just one technique. And how to relate all of this to sustainability and to the student's future. The question that every student asks, Miss, هستفاد من ده إيه? In schools. Doctor, أيوة بقى لما أتخرج هعمل بده إيه? In the university. Going to face when they leave our classes. Skills for teaching. For example, do we teach teachers communication, teamwork, leadership? Well, we do teach them classroom management. They always have a problem with that. Assessment, real assessment of student learning, correct assessment methods and practices. Technology, which is very essential today. Critical thinking, conflict resolution, and the ethics of teaching practices. How to be a fair teacher, how to be a teacher who gives equal opportunities to everyone. So educators must be trained on key pedagogies to ensure the effective implementation of sustainability. They should be able to apply real-world learning in their classrooms, learner-centered approaches, action-oriented learning, and transformative learning. So, for example, real-world learning, the learning that helps the students practice what they learn in the classroom. Do we give them opportunities for that? Teachers can, for example, can invite guest speakers to the classrooms, help the students go on exchange programs, and I'm talking about schools and universities as well. Taking them on field trips, doing role plays in the classroom, working on projects, interviewing members of the local community, campaigning for different sustainability issues. Well, these are just examples of what we can do in the classrooms to be actually working with real learning. When it comes to learner-centered approaches, we want the students to become actively involved in the learning process. So educators should not be the experts anymore who just pour the knowledge into the heads of the students, but give the students the chance to structure their own knowledge and just take a step and become facilitators. By implementing project-based learning, for example, by connecting the students' interests to the curriculum, by tailoring the learning plans to the diversity of the students, by giving students some choice, providing meaningful feedback to the students, and helping them be able to assess their own knowledge. Sometimes when I say this in training programs, I get this from the teachers. What? Give them choice, خليهم يختاروا ازاي يعني؟ ما ينفعش، ازاي يختار؟ To assess themselves? Oh my God. As for action-oriented learning, we need to engage the learners in different kinds of activities and work on learning that takes place in the cycle. Whether we're talking about individualized, self-paced activities or group work, collaborative activities, this idea of Kolb's experiential learning cycle, where they work on a concrete experience and then reflect and observe and then start to make sense of what happened, and then they start to plan for better performance, and then the cycle keeps going on again. And then transformative learning should be applied in the classroom. The learning that challenges all views through questioning, which eventually leads to change in opinion, change in behavior. One of the most amazing things ever is when you talk to a student about the simple thing of don't throw anything out of the window. Don't throw litter in the street. ما ترميش حاجة في الشارع. ليه بس؟ ليه يا دكتور؟ الشارع مش نظيف. This is something that needs a change. That's a simple behavior that takes a lot of effort. We want to empower the learners to question and change their ways of thinking about the world. Encouraging critical reflection and discussions can do that. Giving them an opportunity to test new paradigms and perspectives can do that. Giving them one problem or assignment and then asking them to approach it from multiple perspectives and problem-solving approaches can do that. Giving them scenario-based activities and holding debates. All of this prepares learners. Because sometimes I see graduates in the university who are actually applying for postgraduate degrees, and you ask them about their opinion and they don't know. رأيي إزاي؟ طب إيه رأي حضرتك؟ When you ask them to debate or to talk about an issue in a debate, they don't know how to do that. And all of these are skills that we really need if we are going to really reach the goals of 2030 sustainability. Well, it is clear that teachers are the key agents of the desired change. It is our responsibility. Teachers are the key. And teacher training programs must include courses where sustainable development is infused. So, نعمل إيه؟ نعمل إيه؟ Well, teachers first should be exposed to the importance of education for sustainability. They have to believe in that. It is important. And then, continuous professional development programs that focus on sustainability should be very accessible. We all know that once the teacher graduates from university, it's very hard, very expensive, very inaccessible to get to professional development programs. The teacher اللي عايز يتدرب نفسه أو يشتغل على نفسه زي ما بيقولوا بعد التخرج بيدفع فلوس كتير قوي اللي هي أصلا مش معاه، بيتعب جدا، بيحتاج إنه يبذل مجهود مضاعف عشان هو عنده already شغله. It needs to be done in another way. Teacher education institutions and teacher educators hold a great responsibility. We need to deliver quality education and influence policies and practices in education. Perhaps this is our role. What can we do to bring this kind of training closer to the teacher, to make it easier? In the American University, we're trying to do this on a very small scale. The Nile TESOL, where I come, is an example of that. And maybe this is a good chance to invite you all to be speakers with us in the Nile TESOL. We're a small association that helps teachers get professional development for free. So we kind of travel around, we give sessions and workshops and mini conferences and seminars. We would be very happy if any of you professors would like to join us. We do all this on volunteer basis, and we're not actually funded except by a very small amount that comes from the university and the American embassy. So we need a lot of volunteers. But, well, it's a step. New standards need to be developed for teacher certification to ensure the systematic application of education for sustainability.
They mentor the rest of the class. We can divide students into different groups, and each group get a part of the problem, and they collaborate together. So it has many different ways of doing this. Of course, the competency-based education. This is, and we have been speaking about it now just a few minutes ago. I know you must be aware that there is this direction towards the competency-based based is very simply what Sheikh Al-Amoud would do. If you understand the system of Sheikh Al-Amoud in Al-Azhar education, when it started, it's competency based. There is no syllabus, there is no curriculum. He has a number of students. There is a needs assessment for this number of students, and he would tell this person, you have to revise this and study this because this is what's missing from you. And you have to revise this and study this. And he collaborating all of them, and then at the end we get the license for الإجازة. إجازة according to this sheikh which has put it based on this group of students, and not it's not an institution. He is the institution, and it's you can take 5 years, you can take 5 months. You will not be graduating unless certain competences has been gained. So, and that's why this very old, and especially when sometimes they speak about this institution, this is one of the oldest education that is successful and ongoing education institutions that has been going around the world. It's more than 1,000 years. We don't have any college or any educational institution. I think this is we have 3 old. That is that old, and it's until now it's working. And that's why when certainly with some criticism, we can develop, we can have it, but it's a long distance. So this is of course the competency based.
دكتور حضرتك يعني رائعة جدا، كلنا مستمتعين. أنا دلوقتي افتكرت كلام حضرتك فكرة الكتاب. زمان يعني أنا أعرف ناس يعني أبائها وأجدادها كنت يقول لك أنا حفظت القرآن في الكتاب. الكتاب ما كانش عندهم انستتيوشن تخطط أو تعطلهم أو تكتفهم أو تعيد أحلامهم، يعني كانوا يعني بيطلقوا العنان للتيتشر إن هو يطبق his own point of view or his own vision، وبالتالي كانوا very successful.
It
was a very successful
certain objectives. أنا في الآخر عايز لا بالعكس يعني أنا I want this kid to learn how to recite correctly. This is the overall objective of the course. How I achieve this at what time? Because this is of course, if we speak about the competency-based system, I'm very very enthusiastic for it because it helps students of their different levels. There are students who are very fast learners in a certain part, other students take time to understand. This does not mean that the student is better than that خالص. And this is maybe the fast learner does not get the competency wide enough like the slow, and we have all seen these kinds of students. We have the silent student who does not collaborate and does not you feel like he's not a very successful, and he had to find he understood everything. He was concentrating. And another one who has been speaking all the time and contributing, he doesn't got the idea very good. So the competency is yes exactly it goes with everyone. So this was can go on and like the syllabus which was taught, these were a number of exceptional students, meaning exceptional students. This was an elite program given to the top of the classes of the 3 universities in Shams, Al-Qahira, where this is how it started, and then it started in competency-based education. Of course, as you know, the humanistic, of course, I'll be learning from you. But the humanistic approach is it combines, it has 4 pillars. Free will, meaning that we have free choice to do and think what we want. This is applied for the students, applied for by the way, the classroom environment, as I'll be showing. Emotions impact learning. We need to be in a positive emotional state to achieve our best. Meaning that when you are a student and you are in the usual learning outcome classroom in which you are sitting only for exams, assessments, supporting grades, and your competency is based on this, this does not always put you in the best positive attitude. Because we all, I don't know about you, but I hate exams. This is the worst, no matter how I'm studying. In spite of the I am an A student all my life. I hate the idea of being examined. Just sitting in front of someone examining me, so I don't think it's a very nice way for people to be assessed by sitting for an exam. Of course, intrinsic motivation, we generally have an internal desire to become our best, but this is a humanistic attitude, and when we teach students, or when we are in this class environment with this understanding that everyone wants to be better, you have always to believe, I always say that there is nothing good, we have a bad student. I don't believe this, honestly, I don't believe there is a bad student. There could be a bad teacher, but not a bad student, because every student in the classroom, they definitely want to be better. They definitely want to be the best of the classroom. If they are well engaged, if what they are given is really engaging and they get passionate about it, they will be better. If we don't do this, there is something problem with the system, with the teacher, with the material, but not with the student. And of course, this is the humanistic teaching, the theory, the case-based learning, which I think it has been applied for many years, but in this example, it's a little bit different. Of course, this is something we all know that engagement, being positive, and being a passive learner and active learner, we start by 10% if you read something, to reaching to 90% if you get active and you get engaged in the learning process. And how it goes, the case-based, I know you are very well about, well, you know it, how it's done. You present a certain case, analysis by discussion, and dividing the students into groups, and then getting the input from each group, and then we all have, plus this is one, by the way, there isn't really an orthodox way of doing things, especially in the case themselves in this,
interpreter, curricular developer, education and training consultant, and sustainable education quality assurance expert for many national and international institutions. This includes the United Nations, Fulbright Foundation, International Peace Organization, banks, government ministries, and NGOs. Professor Rasha will present a very interesting topic, which is Victor Hugo, Nathaniel Hawthorne, and Yusuf Idris at law school. Using literature to teach legal concepts for law students through blended humanistic and case-based learning approaches within a competency-based education system. Please, Professor Rasha, we are all eager to listen to you.
I think you can use it right, or do I need to use this? You can hear me? Good afternoon. First, thank you very much for having me here. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for the welcome and the warmth of everybody who has met me. I'm very glad to be here, and it has been a pleasure, and I hope I'll be enjoying the rest of the sessions. I enjoyed the beginning of the day, and hopefully I'll be enjoying the rest of the sessions. Actually, our topic today, this has been a paper, it's a research paper I have been working on for a very long time, and a course which I had taught for some time. So what I'm speaking about is not only theoretical proposed paper or proposed topic. I'm speaking out of experience. So I'm like 50, just like Dr. Reda was speaking. I'm something like 50%. I have worked on it for 3 or 4 years. We are stopping in order to assess what we have been. So this is why I'm saying this, because I'm really welcoming any comments or input from everybody. I have been taking this to different places and conferences in different parts of it in order to be compiled into something which is something of a teamwork and a team input from all, because I know, of course, you have very long experiences, as I understand it. Let's start by asking. I'm a literature major, and I'm also a a law school graduate, so I have double major. Okay, but for people, and I understand here we are from different disciplines, but we all have the same aspect of teaching methodology. We all use it, we studied it, we learned it, and we are using it. So on top of our heads, let's ask this question. If I'm someone who is studying literature, teaching literature, and I'm someone who is going into law school to study law, why would literature be used? What do you think? How can literature be useful for law students? What is the relationship? What do you think? Do you think there could be a relationship? Can literature, I'm speaking about literature and not only language.
So maybe it's empathy. Maybe it's empathy. They would feel for them. They would understand, appreciate the context.
What do law students study? What is the kind of education they get? They get laws, they understand the different disciplines. By the way, because there is a misunderstood relation or concept about students studying at law school that they memorize laws. This is not correct. They understand, they understand how, because this is what I got from the first class, the doctor, the professor, he was of civil law, he told us, we teach you how to look into the books of law to get the answers. Because you know the books of law, they are very large books. So you understand the different, and it's a very difficult study to get to understand the different branches and fields and concepts that govern the different the idea of crime and innocence and criminology and penology. All of these are the concepts that students of law get. Again,
I think the relationship between literature and law is like the relationship between literature and life.
Exactly. This is very good. Another thing, it's empathy. Again, it has different topics. And by the way, when I started working on this, I found there was already a movement, and students of law school in the United States. This is a movement that started in 1973, and the leaders of this movement, they started to apply the teaching of literature, by the way, literature in the native language. So I'm not only speaking about if you are in law school, you are studying literature in English. We are studying the idea of teaching literature. They give law students courses in literature for the different topics. If you understand, this is like what you said, literature is life, because there is a particle of life which does not bear poetry. There is not. We have been speaking from the beginning. We have been contemplating about life and what it has. Literature is a mirror of life, and law is working everything to organize relationships between people in life. So this is one thing. The other thing, among others, literature is a document on and of life, because at many times you wouldn't understand so much. It's easier when, for instance, when we are speaking about the African American in literature, when we are speaking about the African American experience. The African American experience in its very beginning, the idea of slavery in its very beginning, because it was legal in the United States, we did not get much information from the official documents. We got so much from the literature written about this era and about this period, from the memoirs of the slaves, from the personal accounts, from the poetry of that time. So it's a document of life when all other documentary methods fail. Of course, it has so much else. If it's in English, which this is what has been applied, because it was applied. We taught English for law students, English literature for law students. So it was language use. It enhanced there not only the English language but the legal language. It's just as if you are watching a movie in which a lawyer is speaking. So you get the legal language of court language. Of course, philosophical roots, the philosophical roots of literature are the same of law. if you study Plato, Aristotle, Socrates, all of this, they were speaking about, because philosophers started, what is philosophy, how it started, they were starting to speak about why we are in life, what's the right thing, what is justice, what is beauty. This is what we learn in. So when I started studying the history of law, I found it's the same what we studied in Latin and Greek mythology and these courses about the roots of literature. So it was the same. So they have the same roots. This distinction, by the way, in the history of law, this distinction between arts and law, this happened very close in history. It was not very early. Yes, please.
Honestly, the Afro-American people, they were not allowed to speak. They were not allowed to express their anguish or their suffering. So they told us a lot about their past experiences, about their tales, their suffering, their anguish, through literature, through their stories, through their tales. So literature, it was a mirror that reflects their suffering, their anguish, and their past experiences.
Yes, exactly. This is one, and you can take this to everything. There is so much which we do not see in the official laws. It starts in the literature, and we have many examples. 1984, we have many examples that we see later. Everything which all the novels and all the literature that spoke about things that will happen, because literary people have this eye and this understanding and vision of life. Legal text, the legal text as literary text in these courses, how to deal with analysis, understanding of testimonies of witnesses, words, what is the impact of a certain word and what is its understanding. The legal text, including contracts, including opinions, legal opinions, including reasons for verdicts. All of these are being studied in different arenas. Of course, literature as a source, background on law. When you understand so much about why a certain law was issued, just like what you were saying, when we speak about the emancipation of slavery, we understand so much about slavery not from the laws, we understand it from the literature of that period. Of course, imaginative involvement. When you learn to see a world which is not in front of you, this is exactly what is required from you as a lawyer and as a judge. You are seeing something which has not happened in front of you. So it's required from you to understand this, to have this ability to imagine something, and you have a verdict, or you have to defend it. Of course, also it is a very successful, from my experience, a very successful case-based journey.
كويس وبيكون عندهم هم international mindedness. الحاجة الثانية students as future teachers operate from a growth mindset perspective. يعني students بيتعلموا إن هم يكبروا دماغهم، يبقى عندهم مهارات الفكر بتاع النمو. You see؟ they're adaptable, they're open to cultures، بيتعلموا حاجات جديدة، ما بيكونوش بس الحاجة اللي هم حافظينها أو عارفينها، وكمان هم بيبعدوا عن فكرة play safe، إحنا نعمل وخلاص، نعمل حتى لو مش فاهمين، نعمل حتى لو مش هنستفيد بيه، لا يكون عندهم مبادرة أكتر، حس بالمبادرة أكتر. الحاجة الثالثة teaching the LC teaching team، التيم اللي كانوا بيدرسوا البروسيس بتاعت الكفاءة اللغوية كلها are not just language teachers. They are employability mentors, defining the common denominator of student skills. كان في عندهم من التحديات الكبيرة إن هم يعملوا common denominator across the students. أنا عندي students بشعب مختلفة، فبيكون في عندي بار معين لازم يكون كل students على اختلاف تخصصاتهم بيوصلوا له. Did you see? And actually this resonates with what is required for the market. We also ensure that we empower our students through our choice of topics. The choice of topics كان مهم جدا. Teaching methods and assessment strategies. We are actively contributing to our students' happiness, confidence, and chances for employment. So this is the philosophy that we carry, myself and the team teaching the LC. We actually want to have the students feel the value of knowledge. We want them to see the return on investment. They given words, they given time, they given attendance, they given a lot, you see? And this is not rewarded in terms of grades because it's a non-credit course. So we are trying to make the topics themselves relevant to them. It resonates with them. It empowers them with the skills they actually need. Or they would say they need, not just like that we diagnose that they need. They would embrace it too. So LC and SDGs. Luckily enough, I had Dr. Ghada Hassan in the morning. She was talking about the SDGs, which are the Sustainability Development Goals. UN منزل 17 جول المفروض ان الناس كلها بتنكلود في التعليم بتاعها. ففي كل الاحوال كنا بنبص على الاس دي جيز ونلاقيها ان هي بتتشابه مع الجولز اللي موجوده عندنا في ال سي بالكفاءه اللغويه. The first is equity through education. So education is one of the tools of giving people power. Improving educational equity requires an understanding of the unique challenge faced by students, be it diverse pre-college learning background or student readiness and drive to catch up with education and level up to business. So what I have in mind is this. They would start out doing some work on the person themselves. They would encourage the student to develop their own personal profile, and then they would create a common denominator across people who come from different specializations, and then we take them up for 8 different levels. See? As per the skills that are relevant to the SDGs are digital and media literacy. We do incorporate the digital tools here, and I'm going to say it in a minute. Knowledge management and innovation, personal and life skills, confidence and happiness, personal drive and orientation, resilience and compassion. So these are the competencies that we are looking through. Impact. This is what we hope to achieve. So adopting a new behavior usually, it breeds a sense of awkwardness or inauthenticity or resentfulness. When people have to study 8 different courses in English and they don't believe that they make sense to them, they would just like feel inauthentic. They will feel like a burden to them. They will not be happy to do them. Did you see? So it becomes integral to education to develop authenticity and growth. So this is the perspective that we're having. Can students use English language, which is the current lingua franca, to express themselves? So this is one of the questions that we created around the topic. So we want the students to speak confidently, embrace the challenge, but actually speak like sound true. Did you see? They speak of themselves. Did you see? So they address their problems. They speak about their own culture. They don't have to mimic or to imitate like the old models used to be. And can they use digital learning technologies in the path for skill growth? Automating student productivity creates safe learning environment. This is one of the things that we create safety through sending everything online or doing the testing itself online as well. So we're creating safety for people to just like be themselves. And then the second thing is we help teachers better allocate their time. And then student experience is customized. Thanks to the immediate reporting, the teachers identify at-risk students and recognize achievers. Now let's contemplate the actual LC journey. The LC testing. Back in 2021, the new curriculum, the bylaws of 148 as we know it, okay, integrated 8 levels of the LC English for all education major students. Placement tests were processed to classify students among their different levels. Level 1 only was taught and assessed in spring 2021. Newcomers for the fall 2021 also underwent a round of placement tests. Results were integrated with the previous ones, and then level 1 and 3 were concurrently offered. Controlled process assessment took place. So it was not class-based, it was control-based, although it's a non-credit course, but was very formally handled. Did you see? Then in spring 2022, LC2 and LC4 were covered. LC1, 2, 3, 4 are to be assessed. So we are opening exams for the 4 levels together, electronically processed. Leveling up student skill set and expanding the examination. So this means that the students, they have to sit for a digital exam, which is like we're leveling up their skills and expanding examination across all levels. the totality of education major students for all departments, all freshmen and sophomores, first year students and second year students. They're all sitting for a digital exam. So, testing creates possibilities. It reveals checkpoints on the roadmap for learning and allows for checking progress with the language competence. Creates full-scale electronic testing experience. This is full-scale, and it's almost automating most of control work. This is the bigger dreams. That if we could automate even for other courses as well. Integrates an oral component that boosts student performance, content preparation, and presentation skills. So, this intervention promises an improvement in student knowledge with its implication on employability and financial gains, along with confidence, satisfaction, and long play in the market. This is what we're targeting. The second thing is we have real-world application of 50% of the proposed LC program. We are now testing level 4, which is 50% of the program now is actually implemented. They demonstrated strong results, opening door for interdepartment research. Did you see? And it addresses the core problem during study when students too often find themselves underprepared or outmatched for the market. So, this is what I have. Thank you. Also use it in different contexts. Did you see? And this is why if you pull it back to employability, اللي هي بنعلي فرصهم ان هم if they actually take that in an institution, in academic setup, the teachers here are cultural mentors. They help them how to handle the things or the questions. It's not just like the word level or the data level. It's the context where they find the language. So if a student has a problem, they can go to the teacher with the questions, okay? Even if it does not have to relate to something specific in English. Did you see? So, this is what I'm referring to as the employability skills. When they started proposing the idea of the LC, it comes with all the world data, or you just like you're limited with whatever is available in your own language. So this does not come without okay. It allows students to self-qualify. If you give students language, you are allowing them actually to qualify LCE background. It was proposed to boost education major students' employability skills. And the faculty hosts 6 different majors in the Faculty of Education, which is Child Education, Psychology, German, Arabic, and Islamic Studies, Special Needs Education, and English. These are the departments that we have. Anchored with rich theoretical study and room for practical application through the 300 levels and 400 level courses on teaching practical. Students reported that they still have barriers in learning and practicing the English language. So the possibilities and challenges started with proposing, writing, charting, and managing, then assessing the 8-level non-credit course of LC, Linguistic Competence. Lingua franca. This is what we refer to describe English now. So what does learning English mean to education major students? English is the lingua franca where access and communication